Welcome to Sunday Sermons from the Williamsburg Community Chapel, brought to you by the Chapel Podcast Network. Let's grab our Bibles and open up to the book of Psalms, chapter 92, and I'll read the first 3 verses for us now, as we prepare to hear from lead pastor Travis Simone, as he helps us continue to learn and study the discipline of worship. A psalm, a song for the Sabbath. It is good to give thanks to the Lord, to sing praises to your name, O Most High, to declare your steadfast love in the morning and your faithfulness by night, to the music of the lute and the harp, to the melody of the lyre.
Well, as the biblical title for Psalm 92 notes, Psalm 92 is a song for the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a weekly period of rest that is commanded in the Bible. Interestingly enough, it's the only day on the Israelite calendar that gets its own psalm. The only one. There's no psalm for Passover. There's no psalm for the Day of Atonement. Of all the days that God's people are commanded to celebrate, of all the days that are a part of God's instructions in the Torah, why is it that the Sabbath gets its own psalm? Well, in addition to the psalmist here pointing us to the fact that Sabbath keeping is an important biblical element of worship, I think there's something else going on. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were planning for our daughter Ruthie's birthday. All of our children were born in the fall, and so the fall is a busy time in the Simone household. And she said, I think Ruthie would really love to go see the Taylor Swift movie. So I said to Nina, I'm not sure this is all that I bargained for when I became a dad, but when you're the father of four girls, you get yourself into lots of interesting situations. Now the movie tickets were the easy bargain of $19.89. Which is a nod to Taylor Swift's birth year, or a marketing excuse to rip us all off. So there I was. Nina said, let's go as a family. So 6 tickets, $19.89 later. I imagined that I could recruit some other dads to come with me. I imagined I'd have several friends, and I thought I could get some to come with me, but it turns out I was the only father on the peninsula brave enough to attend the Taylor Swift movie. So those are all of my friends' kids. All of my friends' kids and me going into the movie. And so there we were, and she's singing, I think it was the second song in the set. The movie, by the way, is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. The second song in the set, she says, "Here comes the first bridge. Who knows the words?" Here comes the first bridge. Who knows the words? And every single person in that movie theater started rattling them off. And they were just coming like rapid fire, just boom, 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 boom. And everybody knew all of the words. I'm looking, how do you all know all the words? In addition, there were about 4 high school age girls sitting right behind me and Nina that I think knew every word for all 2 hours and 45 minutes of that movie. I had Alexis Kincaid, who works in the office with me and is a bit of a Swiftie herself. I had her do some research, how many words were contained in the movie. It's about 17,000 words. And there were people in that theater that knew all of them. You see, songs help us remember things. Songs help us remember words. Songs help us remember ideas. Songs help us remember concepts. So why is there a song for the Sabbath? Because the Sabbath is hard to remember. That's why I believe among all of the days in the Bible, only the Sabbath gets its own psalm. In Exodus chapter 16, God is providing manna for his people as they have just gone out of Egypt. They've come through the Red Sea, and now they're in the wilderness, and they need a way to eat. And God says, I will provide for you a way to eat. And each day, the manna, the food that I will provide will be on the ground, and you can gather it up, but only gather enough for one day. Because I want you to learn that I'm going to provide for you every day. And if they gathered for more than one day, they would the food would actually spoil on the next day. Every day except the sixth day, because God said on the sixth day, gather enough for 2 days, because the seventh day is a Sabbath. It's a holy day of rest. I want you to gather it on the sixth day, prepare it on the sixth day. It won't spoil. You'll have enough food for 2 days. And one of those days can be completely devoted, made holy to me. You can rest in me. This is God helping his people understand this command, to give them this gift. And the first week that it happens, here's what the people do. On the seventh day, some of the people went out to gather, but they found none. You see, God had already provided for them, but they forgot. What if there was a day when we did not have to do more, make more, or be more? What if there was a day when we did not have to post more, tweet more, or send one text or email more? Imagine if there was a day when we didn't have to listen to the people on the news yell more? What if we did not have to drive more, spend more, or get our kids to one game more? What if such a day existed? Exodus 20, verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. What if there was a day? You see, God has already provided the day. We just forgot. See, we forgot that creation crescendos in the Sabbath. The high point of the created order is on the seventh day when creation is at rest with God. We forgot that mankind was created on the sixth day. So the man and the woman's first experience of God's world is rest. Their first moments, the first day of their lives, are a gift of grace. They didn't have to work to earn the Sabbath. The Sabbath was the first day. We forgot that Isaiah 66, 22 to 23 offers a vision of the new creation as a perpetual Sabbath of praise. Isaiah says, what's the new creation going to look like? It's going to look like Sabbath to Sabbath, worship of God by all flesh. We forgot that many of Jesus' miracles take place on the Sabbath. Why is Jesus always healing on the Sabbath? Was he just trying to annoy the religious leaders of the day? He heals on the Sabbath to show that in him the new creation is breaking through. Restoration is breaking out. That's what the Sabbath was always about. Now, why Sunday? The Sabbath is the seventh day, which is Saturday, but here we are gathered on Sunday, the first day. And this is where I think a lot of the confusion comes in and why a lot of Christians fail to honor this command that is actually a part of the created order of the world, of the universe. We see it all the way back at creation. It's not a part of the ceremonial law of the Old Testament. It's infused into the created order of the world. So why Sunday? Jesus' resurrection is the ultimate picture of new creation. It takes place on a Sunday, the first day of the week, as a way to show that in Jesus, new creation has arrived. Death has been transformed into life. And so there's a book I found quite helpful this week by a theologian named Norman Wiersbe called Living the Sabbath. Let me tell you about what he says about the shift from Saturday to Sunday. For this reason, the reason of new creation breaking out, for this reason, several of the early church fathers, Basil and Augustine among them, referred to Sunday as the eighth day. Though Sunday is the first day of the week in terms of the 7-day creation of the world, it also stands beyond creation as its final summation or conclusion. We should therefore think of Sunday as an intensification of the Sabbath, a new beginning for creation because it represents the age to come, which means that on this day, Jesus has opened up new possibilities for genuine life. Why a song for the Sabbath? Because the Sabbath is hard to remember. So how do we remember it? How do we remember the Sabbath? First, let's talk about Sabbath practice. Sabbath practice. Look at verses 2 and 3 of Psalm 92 with me. To declare your steadfast love in the morning and your faithfulness by night. To the music of the lute and the harp, to the melody of the lyre. You see, practicing Sabbath takes both time and skill. Notice, and Tommy even used this between our songs. He was helping prepare us to hear Psalm 92. I'll give you praise in the morning. I'll give you praise at night. It takes a lot of time to do this, to learn how to do this. And these instruments require skill to learn how to play. The morning and evening is indicative of the time it takes to practice Sabbath. The musical instruments are indicative of the skill it's required to learn to practice Sabbath. Now, our previous pastor, Bill Warwick, he had a famous definition for anger. He used to say it in a lot of the mentorship meetings I would have with him. He would say, anger is blocked expectations. Whenever someone is angry about something, some expectation that they had got blocked. And I think a lot of the reason that believers give up on Sabbath practice as one of the core biblical elements of worship is because it doesn't come easy. Their expectation that it should be natural to rest, it gets blocked, and so they stop doing it. But consider the musical instruments that the psalmist writes about here. Think about that as an illustration to meditate on. In the same way that no one plays Beethoven's Fifth the first time they sit down at the piano, the song of the Sabbath will take time to learn. And so my advice as a pastor, as with many difficult tasks, I like to say, start small, but start today. Start small, but start today. And here is, I've gotten a lot of, because we've talked about our Cease for Sabbath challenge a lot this fall, and I've got a lot of people going, what do I do? How do I do it? And I said, I'm going to get there. I'm going to preach about Sabbath. And so here it is. The whole name of the game is in the word. The Hebrew word for Sabbath is the Hebrew word Sabbat, often pronounced Shabbat in modern Hebrew, and it literally means cease. That's it. It doesn't get more complicated. That people are asking me for all kinds of, high leverage strategies. What do they need to do? Cease. Stop doing stuff. That's it. That's what the word means. Practice ceasing from work. Practice ceasing from making other people work. You can cease from using technology that masks the fact that you are working. Cease from competition. Cease from achievement. Cease from accumulation, consumerism, and commerce. Back to my new friend, Norman Wiersbe, again, talking about shifting from Saturday to Sunday. He writes this: what distinguishes Sunday from the Sabbath is that the path to this rest is through the cross of Christ. To cease, something will have to die in your life. You will have to give up control of some aspect of your life and how you want to live and how you want to shape your week and how much you want to get done and what activities you want to have your kids involved in. But the true path to rest is through the cross of Christ. Not around it, not under it, not avoiding it, not over it, but right through it. And so I'll just ask, what do you need to practice ceasing from on Sunday? And know that ceasing from things, it's not going to come easy. That's why I call this practice. We have to practice Sabbath. The elders recently approved a sabbatical for me. I am so grateful to be a part of a church that cares about the health of their pastors. This June, I'll celebrate 17 years on staff at the chapel. And this is the second opportunity that I'll have to take a extended period of Sabbath rest. And in preparation for those conversations with the elders, I reviewed my last sabbatical journey. And this is what I wrote on day 24, June 7th, 2017, 8:30 p.m. Today, I had to battle feeling a bit stressed. It's such a funny feeling to be stressed in the midst of such a gift of time off. 24 days of not working, and I'm still learning the practice. I think I really need to examine why it's hard to take it slow, or better yet, just keep taking it slow till it feels normal. Start small, but start today. And you can share your story with me. I've been collecting stories of people praying the Psalms, of people choosing the church, of people ceasing for Sabbath. Please share your story with me. You can go online, wcchapel.org/follow me. That's where all the resources for our challenges are, and you can share your story with me. I would love to hear what God is doing in your life through these practices. But the Sabbath is hard to remember, so we must engage in Sabbath practice. And then engage in Sabbath patience. Sabbath patience. Look at verses 5-7 with me. How great are your works, O Lord. Your thoughts are very deep. The stupid man cannot know, the fool cannot understand this, that though the wicked sprout like grass and all evildoers flourish, they are doomed to destruction forever. But you, O Lord, are on high forever. But what if another company gains a business advantage over me? People ask. What if someone else's kid gets the scholarship? What if I miss out? What if people are upset with me or I let someone down? Psalm 92 is clear. The wicked do flourish, but they flourish like grass. That is, they sprout quickly and have all the signs of life in springtime, but they are scorched by the heat of July. Their advantage is only temporary. And the Bible has strong words for people who can't see that the advantage of those who work, who blow right through the stop sign of the Sabbath and just keep on working. The Bible has strong words for them. I won't paraphrase. The stupid man cannot know, the fool cannot understand, that though the wicked sprout like grass, they are doomed to destruction forever. Their advantage is temporary. Now, if you were looking at Psalm 92 in a paper Bible, some interesting things might pop out to you. This is a 15-line poem, which means that verse 8 is the center. If you want to go here if you don't have a paper Bible, I'm going to show you my paper Bible right there. So verse 8 is the center of the poem. 7 lines of the poem before verse 8, 7 lines after verse 8, again, trying to show you this pattern of Sabbath, 7 at once every 7 days rest. In addition, the Lord is mentioned. I've added it up there for you 7 times. The 4th time, right in the very middle, right in the very center, verse 8, is the wheel on which the whole thing turns. But you, O Lord, are on high forever. Do you believe that God's wisdom is higher than your wisdom? Do you believe that God's wisdom is higher than the wisdom of our culture? I've said before, if you have a God that can't disagree with you, you don't really have a God. You're not worshiping God, you're worshiping your own opinion. And the structure of the psalm is pointing you to this idea that it is the Lord who is on high. He's the one with the biggest picture in the room. It takes Sabbath patience to trust that God's design of rest once every 7 days will prevail in the end. Verse 9, you read this. It says, "For behold your enemies, O Lord, for behold your enemies shall perish. All evildoers shall be scattered." These same future verb forms are carried over into verses 10 and 11. They're translated in the past tense in our ESV translation, but the King James keeps the future tense of these verbs. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eyes also shall see my desire of mine enemies, and my ears shall hear my desire of the wicked, that they rise up against me. This is not the picture of a person exhausting himself, working overtime to secure victory. It's the picture of a person patiently waiting on God to provide refreshment and victory at the right moment. There's an unbelievable scene in the movie Chariots of Fire, which is about an athlete, an Olympic athlete, who, because of his Christian faith, doesn't run on Sundays. And the race that he is supposed to win gold in is scheduled in Paris, France for a Sunday. And everyone's trying to talk him into doing it. And he refuses. And there's this scene where before the Olympics, everyone's getting ready. Everyone's training on Sunday to get ready for all the events that they have to do. And so the filmmaker masterfully juxtaposes Eric Liddell, the main character in church, reading from Psalm 40 as everyone else toils away at the track. And so imagine people lifting weights and grunting and sweating. And there's Eric Liddell in church. He reads these words. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. And the athletes are just exhausted, lying on the ground. But they who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. And that year, someone else won the gold medal besides Eric Liddell in the 100-meter dash. You see, the Sabbath is hard to remember. It requires Sabbath patience to say, my medal exists in a different place. And it finally requires Sabbath placement. Look at verses 12 through 14 with me. The righteous flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. They are planted in the house of the Lord. They flourish in the courts of our God. They still bear fruit in old age. They are ever full of sap and green. If the wicked flourish like grass, the righteous flourish like trees. Grass sprouts quickly, trees grow slowly. Grass is trampled, trees are not so easily toppled. Grass is cut with no resistance. A twig filled with sap may bend, but it will not break. And the psalmist here uses two trees to illustrate this point. One is the palm tree, known for its fruit. The other is a cedar tree, known for its strength and height. You see, a tree's advantage of strength, durability, height, and fruit are all dependent on one thing: the tree's placement, where it lives, where is its source of nourishment. So note the placement of the trees that represent the righteous. Verse 13, they are planted in the house of the Lord. They flourish in the courts of our God. You see, Sabbath is not a personal retreat. Sabbath is a community exercise that includes corporate worship. Sabbath placement means we choose church and we choose it together. Because when we're choosing it together, it creates a community where this type of obedience, where this type of looking to the future is encouraged, is strengthened, has institutional support around it. And people will often say to me, well, what about all the things that I'm going to miss if I choose the church? What about all the things that my kids are going to miss if we choose the church? Here's the better question. What about all you will become? A strong and fruitful life, firmly rooted through the storms of life. Deep relationships from gathering week after week, year after year, not easily broken by the disappointments and frustrations of life, and a life of significance that lasts. After the joy of other activities fades, the posting, the shopping, the playing sports, the working for the promotion, when all the affirmation from answering those emails and texts is gone, the righteous, those who learn to sing the song of the Sabbath, they still bear fruit in old age. The Sabbath is hard to remember, so let's ensure our proper placement in the worshiping community. There's a fascinating article in The Atlantic, a quite secular publication, with this title that caught my attention: The Misunderstood Reason Millions of Americans Stopped Going to Church. Why have people stopped going? This sociologist sought to find out. And here's what he found. The defining problem driving people out is just how American life works in the 21st century. Contemporary America simply isn't set up to promote mutuality, care, or common life. Rather, it is designed to maximize individual accomplishment as defined by professional and financial success. Such a system leaves precious little time or energy for forms of community that don't contribute to one's own professional life or, as one ages, the professional prospects of one's children. Work reigns in America. And because of it, community in America, religious community included, is a math problem that doesn't add up. I'm worried about the songs we're teaching our children. Not some of the fun Taylor Swift songs, not those. I'm worried about the rhythm of life that we're teaching our children. About passing on to them this math problem that just doesn't add up. I'm worried about the songs that we are singing ourselves. I'm not worried that believers might not be saved because of this, but I am concerned that believers are missing the here and now experience of their salvation because of this. And I'm quite worried that we are failing to bear witness, proper witness, clear witness to a watching world of what the new creation looks like. And in the midst of it all, I talk to people every week who are just flat out exhausted, especially parents. And we, the church, have been given God's answer to this problem. And yet we're failing to declare that good news to the world. And so I want to declare the good news this morning to all of you and to me who walk through life exhausted, and challenge us to declare that good news as we go forth from this place. Jesus Christ said, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden. I will give you rest. I will give you Sabbath." That's what Jesus offers. And he said, "I am Lord of the Sabbath," which means I am the one to whom the Sabbath always pointed. The Sabbath is a person. And you can place your faith in the person of Jesus Christ right now, your ultimate trust in him, and you will receive rest from the sin that torments you, from the death that awaits every human being who's ever lived. You will receive rest from those two great enemies of our soul, sin and death, and you will be welcomed into a community of rest that has a rhythm of once a week rest together. Sabbath is hard to remember, so let us engage in Sabbath practice, Sabbath patience, and Sabbath placement, that together we might sing and teach our children to sing the song of the Sabbath.
Thank you for joining us today. Here at the Williamsburg Community Chapel, we are all about making disciples of Jesus Christ. So wherever you are in your spiritual journey, we hope you will take up this call of Jesus to follow me as we consider these disciplines for disciples.